Welcome to Stitchy with Cindy Beth. Today I have this little pocket organizer for next to your bed, and it is quite cute. The fabric I used was bright and cheery, and it has 4 pockets, 2 flat drop-in pockets behind, and then 2 pleated pockets in front, and it has a little place for a pen. Now the muslin at the top is the part that goes under your bed. You can use fat quarters, 2 fat quarters to make this project, and you could make that the same color. You could also make the pockets a different coordinating color if you wanted. This was using up some fabric that someone gave me. I like it. It's nice and bright, and I used the muslin to make it work. So this is for under a bed. Now, I like the idea of it going under the bed, and that is what they traditionally are made. But for myself, this one is for my sister, and she's actually gonna put it on her cedar chest and stick this part under the lid and then close the lid so that it hangs nice and she's can reach it easier. And then I was thinking, I'd like one also, but I don't want it, hanging out of my cedar chest or underneath my bed, just because I have a puppy that likes to explore into things that are mine, pens especially. So I thought, what if I just took where this part would go under the bed, and instead of putting that muslin on, just folded that over and put a dowel rod in there, and then I could hang that on the wall. And that's what I'm going to do. So for this one, I'm going to give you the measurements, and if you want to put the dowel rod behind it, just don't add that extra section that goes behind, and just fold this down and under and put a seam, and you'll have that little pocket, and the dowel rod would fit right in here. Okay, so just fold it over, slip your dowel rod in there, and you'll be all set. Okay, so let's talk about this project. Again, it is fat quarter friendly. If you want to use 2 fat quarters, that's fine. Now, when I did this, I cut my pieces out, and they were not fat quarters, so just remember, no, that's fine. I'm sorry, that thought went weird. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to want 2 strips of fabric that are 10.5 by, this one you're going to cut at 17. This one you can cut right at the 12. This one is the back flat. This strip, the one that is the 10.5 by 17, is the one with the pleats in it, so you need a little bit more material. This one can be cut at the 10.5 by 12 because it's straight flat. Now, you do want to put some interfacing behind your main fabric and between your layers of your strip. So your strip you're going to fold in half, and between the 2 layers you're going to put your interfacing. Go ahead and top stitch the top. This can be a raw edge because it's going to be covered by the bottom pocket. You can see here that you don't see any of the bottom of that. Now, if you want, you could make this into a tube, put the right sides together, make a tube, turn it right side out, and then just top stitch the top and go ahead and stitch this down. So this is stitched at the side to hold it in place, and stitched right here for the bottom of it. Okay, so this bottom needs to be stitched, and the 2 sides. Okay, and then when we put the other pocket on it, we will sew it down the middle to form the 2 dividing pockets. Okay, so now this is the 10.5 by 17. Now, if you want no raw edges and you don't want to be worried about that, you could do the same process of making the tube, putting the interfacing in between the 2 layers. Here is what I've done, and I've not done the tube method because my seams are going to be hidden when I fold it over and sew the bottom of the piece together. the back and the front, okay? But if you don't want to make sure you don't have any raw edges, you could do it the other way. It's really about how much fabric you want to run under your machine at one time. Okay, so to make the pleats, I measured in an inch and pinned, measured in an inch and pinned, and then you just bring the two pieces together. Okay, now you want to watch how your pleat goes, because this is on the left side. I want the top of the fabric to come over to the left. Okay, and then on this side, I want the top fabric to go towards the right. All right, then this is the next pocket. Again, I did the same thing. I just put a pin and a pin at 1, and then I put another pin at 1 and another pin at 1 inch over, and then I just put them together and pinned that down. Okay, and then I ironed it and sewed the bottom. So there is the constructed pleat. Now at this side, because it is the right side of the pocket, you want the top layer to be coming over to the right. Again, I marked here with a pin, an inch here, and just folded it over. Okay, so that's how you make the pleats. Now the next step would be to go ahead. Now I had top stitched this already before I did my pleats, so that part is done, and I ironed it. I sewed the bottom. Now I would go ahead and make this other pleat and line up my side where I want it. Now I folded this over and I pressed in where the half mark is. You could mark that with a pin. You could mark that with a heat resistant pen, however you wanted. So you line that up right there at the bottom. Now if you don't want to do the fold over method, you could cut the material in half here and then fold it over. Okay, I'm just going to use one large piece. I think it's easier to manipulate, but that's up to you. All right, so you just lay this on the fold right there and clip it down, sew that seam. So that is your side seam. Now I like to go ahead and sew the bottom seam and sew the other side seam, and giving it just that little bit of extra strength. Now before you flip up your back side, you want to go ahead and sew right here to sew down your pocket. This would be the side seam of your pocket right here, and that creates this space for your pen pocket. All right, then you're going to come over here to the middle. You're going to open up your pleat as much as you can, and right there in the center you are going to sew this down, and that creates the other side of your pocket. And then you want to extend it up here to make the two pockets for the back, the dividing seam, you know, the one side and the other side. So that seam will divide that pocket into two. Okay, and you've got the side seams and the bottom seams sewed now. All you do is use your other piece or your folded up method like I'm going to do. You fold it, align it up. You want to sew the side seam, sew the bottom seam. Now if you're doing the folding up method like I am, you want to make sure that you go up high enough that you're catching that raw edge. So my suggestion is to sew from the other side where you have the stitching from stitching the bottom of the pleats onto the fabric, so you know right where your seam is. So you got this sewed up, you got the bottom seam sewn, you're going to sew the top. Now it's up to you if you want to go ahead and sew partial and then leave room for your turning right sides out, or if you want to leave the whole thing open. Now for this project, I would leave the whole thing open, turn it right side out, and then when I have it turned right side out again, whoop, we'll do a flip here, then I would turn this under. So it's a really nice all the way across the same, and just top stitch it down. Now I need to fold back the piece that I want for my dowel rod, and depending on how big your dowel rod will depend on how far over you want to sew that down. Okay, so that's that part. Now, before you do that, if you want to make your pockets extra strong, you could sew down that center seam again. All right, so where's my thing? All right, so before flipping that over to do the dowel rod, and the only reason I'm saying that is because depending on how far back you flip it, you could sew right through your hole for your dowel rod, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so go ahead, and if you want to make it just a little stronger, the seam that you've already put through here, go ahead and stitch on that same set of stitching. So you're now attaching the front to the back in the center of your project, and then fold over. Again, you could fold over the top part for your dowel rod first if you're using a small dowel rod. You don't want to flip that over beforehand and get something caught in here, okay? So remember, when you're doing that, that your dowel rod fold over can't go beyond your pocket, okay? Because if you fold it over here and you're working on the back and you sew it down, you just closed your pocket, okay? So just to be mindful of that. Your dowel rod can be folded over right there, but then you want to make sure that you hand stitch that part down, okay? So that when you're hand stitching it, you're making sure that your hand or something is between, you know, slip a little paperback book or something in there, a little notebook or something, so that you know you're not sewing your pocket closed, okay? So there you have it. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and I hope you have a great day. Again, this is a cute little pocket for the bed, and I'm sure any college student would enjoy having that. I know for myself with my glasses, you know, you look at your phone when you're getting ready to go to bed and stuff, and then you have it in your hand, and the cat, the dog knock it off the stand when you put it down. So I hope you enjoy this project. Again, have a great day, and I'm sorry I'm repeating myself. Bye now.